Hello Seawolves! I hope you are having a good Saturday. I have a little day off from sanding and scraping and all that stuff on the boat today. Tomorrow it's back to work again, so my whole Sunday is going to be nothing but scraping bottom paint off my boat. But today I'm having a nice day, you know, at home, just enjoying the city with my wife. So good times over here. I hope you're having a good day also that fits with hopefully it's something delicious in your cup. I got some nice fresh coffee here. Are you ready for a little toast? I guess to the remainder of the Vendee Globe, and we're going to talk America's Cup, of course, today, because some exciting things going on there. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Oh, nice. That's a good start of the show always. Now I want to start today with the goings on in the America's Cup, of course the Prada Cup right now. So what happened is that Team American Magic with the Patriot now really out of the race, so they didn't make it you know, through the semi-finals, the first real elimination in the race, so the first team to really drop out of the race completely. They are not going to be, you know, the official challenger in the America's Cup this cycle. And what happened? Well, obviously you all know about the great you know, falling over, almost dismasting maybe. We're still not sure whether it was because they had a really strong gust or because they couldn't depower the main sail, but they capsized, had a giant hole in the boat, and they did really affect a miracle in the sense that they got some help from the other teams and were able, you know, especially with the team help, I guess the facilities of Team New Zealand, to get the boat Patriot back onto the water again, their AC-75. But you know, in this particular cycle, with the speeds of the AC-75s being so high, and the fact that all the other teams, of course, every race they optimize a little bit, every race they optimize a little bit. And when you're going 40 knots, if you're making like a 1% tweak or 2%, or in many of the cases, you know, improve things to like where you have like a 5% improvement, or, you know, like in ranges like that, when you're dealing with speeds that is not like a 10 knot speed that you're improving with 1 or 2%, where it's like barely an improvement, right? You're going maybe half a knot faster or a quarter knot faster, and that's like, whoa, big progress. No, no, no. When they optimize like, you know, 5% or even 10%, you know, a single element on these incredible AC-75s, instantly you're going 2, 3, sometimes 5 knots faster at certain wind angles. So the improvement in the VMG is just incredible, right? And so the expectation that they could bring Patriot back on the water and be in any way kind of competitive with essentially a new boat, because they had to rip the entire insides out, everything had gotten wet. You have essentially a new hull made, you've put all the new technology, and you have barely any time to really test the boat, really race the boat, get your confidence again, the emotional trauma of capsizing and getting back into it, and then the expectations of being able to really get in the race again. If they had been able to stay in the race, that would have been an almost inhumane feat, right? It would have been a really, truly a comeback story, miracle of the year. And I said it in the previous episode, like maybe they can come back, right? You know, stranger things have happened. But I also said like the chances that they're gonna go through are like really, really small. Some of you emailed me angrily, said, no, America is gonna get back into it. And I give it to the Americans that, you know, the fact that they repaired the boat, got back on the water is a testament to incredible sportsmanship. But at this level, bringing essentially a new boat, because that's what it was after the repair, on the water and expecting it to win against Rossa, which, you know, at the peak performance after all these different races, first in the Christmas Cup, then in the Prada Cup, really all those small 2, 3, 4% increasements, it was obvious that it was going to be a nigh impossible feat to win that. And so kind of unsurprisingly, I would say, Patriot got you know, defeated 4-0 you know, in that remaining semi-final, I guess, or like pre-semi-final. And so they were unfortunately eliminated from the roster now. And so that means that Luna Rossa, who was incredibly strong, who really dominated, they won all the starts. Jimmy Spithill just handily handled himself and were able to stretch and run away with it. Now, of course, the one trouble with that is that even though they go on to the semi-final now against, of course, Team Ineos UK, who already had secured their place in the semi-final, it is, you know, interesting that against Patriot now, they couldn't really battle sail. So when Luna Rossa was sailing against Ineos, we saw some incredibly close racing, right? We saw them overtaking each other, I think 9 times in the race, or maybe 12 times that there was a lead change within the race. So this was hardcore close racing. I, you know, put your attention on that incredibly close cross that everybody is talking about. That was incredible racing, and that also makes you competitive, right? So it makes you think as a team about, well, if we're behind in an AC75 and we have an AC75 racing in front of us, how do we get past them? What do we do to force them to make mistakes, to, you know, get the right angle on them so that we, you know, might cross them and have the right of way according to the rules, and how, you know, all of the tactics that go into sailing. Because they were racing against essentially now a much slower boat, that the American team wasn't really able to push too hard around the corners because they didn't really have the time to really test it out. You're a little bit careful after an accident like that. So they essentially, you know, beat them very strongly 4-0. But they also really didn't have so much competition. And so in a way, going into the semi-final now with, you know, essentially up against Team Ineos UK, you know, Luna Rossa very strong, but Team UK also very strong. And so we really have to wait for the next race in this iteration where we'll see Ineos and Luna Rossa really hit each other again, you know, go full bore there. That we can see how the real racemanship, let's say, and the real tactics with two AC75s that so far have been incredibly competitive against each other, how that is going to turn out. And so for my mind right now, it's really a 50-50 chance. I don't think that Luna Rossa is necessarily in better shape than Ineos UK, but Ineos UK is also not necessarily in better shape than Luna Rossa. So it's very cool to see the first, I would say, real duel now. We had the previous race between the two, which was incredible to watch. And I'm really looking forward to seeing both Luna Rossa and Ineos UK duke it out now over the next few, well, quite a few races actually, in order to see who the real challenger is going to be. On the other side, we have, of course, the defender, Team New Zealand, which hasn't been able to really compete with the other boats. So they've been training with American Magic, with Patriot so far, but that will likely end now as they are out of the race. So they're gonna, you know, pack up and go home, presumably. And so they lost their sparring partner, will have to find some other way. And yeah, soon, of course, they will have to enter the fray, and then we'll really see how New Zealand is going to be doing against these other two who, you know, presumably have some more real racing experience now than the New Zealanders. So like we talked about before this started in the America's Cup Special and in the AC75 Special also earlier, it is kind of a tough spot. On the one hand, defenders usually find a way to kind of stay ahead of the game. You know, in the legal matters, in the tactical matters, they have control over the rules and all these different things, so they have a real advantage. On the other hand, the fact that they have to sit out part of the racing and just kind of watch the rest get, you know, better and better, and then enter the race later, it is an obstacle, right? I mean, just continuously fighting makes you stronger. They are, of course, observing from shore, and they just introduced a new foil again, as I understand it. So they are optimizing, but we're not really going to know in what shape they really are until they actually, you know, have to prove themselves against, you know, the Italians or Team Ineos UK. But so that is the kind of the lay of the land in the Prada Cup, soon to be America's Cup, and I'm really excited for the next races. I hope that we'll get a similar spectacle as before, where we see both Luna and Team Ineos UK be super close to each other, and then of course Team Emirates New Zealand entering the mix, I think is only going to make that a lot better. So looking forward to the next series of racing. Then let's move to the Vendee Globe. I'll bring you into the screen here right away as we go to the Vendee map. So we had, of course, several finishes. Now, by the way, not all of the 5, like I think 3 of the 5 winners have contacted me so far. So if you entered the contest and maybe you forgot to watch the show yesterday or the day before, look up the episode that says the top 5 is known, because I'm announcing the names of the top 5 winners there. And you know, if you won that amazing, actually mine is in the dishwasher right now, but if you won one of the 5 signed you know, Seawolf mugs, you don't want to miss this, of course. So be sure to contact me so I can send it over to you. But 3 of the 5 have already contacted me, so your mugs will soon be on the way. But now let's dive into the remaining race. So Maxime also finishing in the last 24 hours or so. So he has now fully secured the 12th place, and we see Amrel now basically close to Cape Finisterre. So he's about a day and a half or so away from the finish, and it looks pretty securely that he's going to end up in the 11th place, which is amazing, right? Looking at where he came from and some of the troubles that he had in the beginning of the race, having to effect some repairs. But he's raced a fantastic race, and quite obviously, if he hadn't had the trouble that he had in the beginning of the race, he could have easily maybe won, or at least would have probably secured a place somewhere in the top 3, because L'Occitane is definitely, or L'Occitane I should say, because otherwise some of you are going to be, you know, chiding me in the mail again, like you have to pronounce it the right way, right? So L'Occitane is an amazingly fast boat, presumably maybe one of the fastest IMOCA in the fleet, I would guess. I'm very curious to see, you know, when the fast net comes along, and of course many of these IMOCAs will also be participating in the fast net, maybe in the Round Europe race in the IMOCA class, maybe in the upcoming Ocean race in 2022. I'm really looking forward to see, you know, how L'Occitane is going to do after, and how it will do in some of the other races that are coming up, which of course I'm going to be talking about here on Seawolves as well. Then behind there we have Clarice Kramer right now going through the Azores at a very nice pace, 16.3 knots right now. And if things continue at this pace, there's no real crazy weather or anything in her way to the finish, so I think Clarice is going to be sailing beautifully to an amazing 12th place. So really well done. And yeah, I guess she's going to be the first girl to finish this time around. So amazing also there for her. Then we have Romain Athanasio now really in the full. I'll zoom in a little bit here. So the full head-to-head with Shirel is going on now. Unfortunately, they're both sailing into kind of a low wind area, but Shirel has kind of overtaken him already. So in the classement, he's still 14th because of his, you know, a relationship to the finish, but he's actually already a little bit more north. So Romain presumably has already seen Shirel kind of, you know, pass him in the latitude wise, and so it won't be very long until Shirel really overtakes him there. But right now they're kind of, yeah, no, actually he's right now also considerably faster, about 3 knots faster. So that means presumably 13th place for Shirel. And I mean, think about that one. So he damages his boat off of Cape Finisterre, turns away, waits for the start line, like fixes his boat, departs again right before the start line, you know, 10 days after the official start closes down. On the last day he manages to make it out. So a 10-day deficit, right? And now in the end he's going to probably be finishing 6 days or so after the first finish, so still, you know, a lot of ground to cover. But on the other hand, from all the way in the back, from 33 boats starting, he made it with a 10-day late start to probably 13th place again. I mean, it's amazing, right? And still outpacing everybody also right now, except maybe Amrel. They're more or less an even match, I would say. So yeah, if Jeremy hadn't had that problem, almost absolutely like 100% solid for sure that he would have won the race, right? I think only Amrel really speed-wise, if we see throughout the whole race, like it's very clear that the two of them really have kind of like extra speed mode in a while, in a way, with both of them having one of the latest generation boats. Of course, Amrel had a very untested boat, so he really didn't sail his boat much. Sherelle had the most experience of everybody. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how these two boats compete against each other in the future. But amazing racing on Sherelle and Jeremy Bijou's part there also. And of course Roman Athanasiou also, not to be, you know, amazing race. And I guess also psychologically, of course, he had to go through the fact that, because Roman is actually the husband of Sam Davis, so that's also quite something, that he started, of course, racing really against, you know, his wife, having to go to the fact that she had the keel damage, had to fall out, then rejoined the race, so she's still, you know, racing somewhere behind him. Must have been such a, you know, double, triply heavy emotional thing to kind of also deal with that whole factor. But you know, it is what it is, and he's doing really well. Now, then if we move a little bit more to the back, we see that Arnaud Bozzeri is actually running off of the pack a little bit now, so that's pretty impressive, that for the first time kind of we see somebody break away from this group in the trades now. And then of course we have Alan Rora there, and we have Kajira Shirishi, we have Stéphane Darijon, more or less matching speeds as they move through the trades. And then of course we have Pip Hare right now. Not really any good video coming from on board. Some very, you know, hard to watch, low resolution stuff, so I can't really include anything in the show, unfortunately. Waiting for some better video there. And then behind we have Diego Costa now coming finally out of the doldrums there, making good speed. And not that far behind now, we see Manuel Cosin, we see Miranda Marin, and of course Clement Girard also nicely going through the southern trades on their way to the doldrums, but made it through the now famous weather spaghetti and sailing nicely. And then somewhere in the middle of the weather spaghetti we find Ari Heusela, and we have Alexa Barrier there. Alexa actually running away a little bit from Ari, so Ari faring a little bit more behind. But other than that, both of them sailing in good weather now, 12 and respectively 10 knots. Had a bit of slower period. Now they're speeding up again, but they have another layer of relatively bad, as in not much wind, like a wall of no wind kind of ahead of them, as you can see. So they're not out of it yet, and it's going to be, I think, at least another, let's follow him around here, another 3 days or so before they really manage to get out of that, and in some areas with some good speed again. But yeah, that's more or less the state of the Vendee right now, and that's it for the show today. So we have Prada Cup and Vendee Globe for today. So thank you all again very much for watching. Make sure to please like the report and leave a comment below with your questions or interesting facts. And I hope for all the other information, go to seawolvestv.com, of course, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a nice day.